One company figured out how to get rich selling something that becomes worthless the moment you have it. And look, I could not make the math work at first. In 2014, TMZ paid over $100,000 for the surveillance videos of Ray Rice, an NFL running back, hitting his fiancée unconscious in a hotel elevator. Footage the entire planet watched for free within hours. Now the other end of the ledger, on September 13, 2021, Fox Corporation bought TMZ from Warner Media for $50 million. 15 years of beating every newsroom in America, and the whole company sold for the price of one forgettable movie. Meanwhile, over 100 tips still pour into that building every single day. So what were they actually buying with that 100 grand? Something you can't see anywhere in the footage, and once I show it to you, you'll start seeing it everywhere. Run the tape of the last 2 decades and the pattern is hard to miss. June 25th, 2009, the headline "Michael Jackson Dies" flashes on TMZ at 5:20 p.m. Eastern, at least a half hour before any other news organisation can confirm it. CNN can't. The LA Times can't. A gossip site beats them all. That week, ending June 28th, TMZ pulls 7.95 million visitors, traffic up 70% year over year. That's roughly the population of New York City opening one website in 7 days. The drunk movie star in 2006, TMZ. The elevator video the NFL swore it never saw, TMZ. Kobe Bryant in 2020, TMZ first again. The old-fashioned way of doing news lost to this company every single time for 20 years. And yet, that $50 million price tag, a machine that beat the entire American press corps, sold for less than half of what its own parent had been quoted for it. That number should bother you. It bothered me. The explanation starts on a dark highway in Malibu. July 28, 2006. A sheriff's deputy named James Mee pulls over a speeding car on the Pacific Coast Highway. The arrest report lists the time of arrest as 2:36 a.m. and the time booked as 4:06 a.m. The driver is one of the biggest movie stars on the planet, drunk, furious, ranting that Jews are responsible for all the wars in the world. And Deputy Mee does the one thing his bosses will never forgive him for. He writes down exactly what happened, 4 pages. On paper, this is a routine celebrity DUI. Embarrassing, sure, but the kind of story that gets processed, filed, and forgotten by Monday. Except Mee's superiors read those 4 pages and order a rewrite. Harvey Levin later recounted the instruction. "You've got to rewrite this report. It's too inflammatory. There's a lot of tension now with the Israelis, and Mel Gibson did Passion of the Christ, and we don't want to inflame the Jews around here over a drunk driving arrest." The Passion of the Christ, the star's own blockbuster about the crucifixion, cited inside a police station at 4 in the morning as a reason to strip slurs out of an arrest record. Mee protests, then he complies and the official file gets sanitised. But the original 4 pages survive. And they don't go to the LA Times. They land with Harvey Levin and his staff of 25 at the fledgling entertainment website TMZ.com. On the day of the arrest, a sheriff's official tells TMZ that the story it's about to publish, the rampage, the slurs, is absolutely false. A law enforcement official lying to a journalist who is holding the documents that prove the lie, while the lie is being delivered. Levin publishes. That same Friday night, the department reverses itself and promises nothing will be sanitised. Now run the pricing on that night. The arrest was worth a little, the cover-up was worth more, but the proof of the cover-up, in the hands of the only outlet fast enough to run it, that was worth everything, for about 6 hours. Deputy Mee's bill comes due later. You're probably wondering how a guy running a celebrity website ends up trusting 4 leaked pages over the word of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Because Levin's whole background is law. He practiced it in California for 2 decades, taught it as a professor, then drifted into television as a legal analyst covering the O.J. Simpson trial, and co-produced The People's Court from 1997. From 2002 to 2005, he ran a show called Celebrity Justice, basically a rough draft of TMZ. And that's where he absorbed the idea the whole empire runs on. Lawyers don't ask who's talking, they ask what you can prove. And court documents and arrest records prove themselves. They're public, they're verifiable, and they don't need an official to vouch for them. Which is why 8 months before that Malibu arrest, November 8, 2005, TMZ made its debut as a collaboration between AOL and Telepictures. AOL, the dial-up giant that, in 2005, was still one of the biggest front doors to the internet in America. Telepictures, the TV production arm of Warner Brothers, the same corporate family as the studios whose stars TMZ would spend the next 15 years ambushing. Hollywood funded its own ambush. Let me say that again because it's the strangest fact in this whole story. Hollywood funded its own ambush. Even the name is an inside joke. TMZ stands for the 30-mile zone, an old studio rule drawing a 30-mile circle around the corner of Beverly and La Cienega in LA. Inside that circle, everything counts as local, and everything is fair game. Levin bought the TMZ.com domain for $5,000 and set up in a studio in Glendale with a team of about 7 to 12 people. On launch day, the site posted video of Paris Hilton's fender bender outside a Hollywood nightclub. That was the entire company. Here's the economics underneath it. Information has a half-life. The second it goes public, its value starts decaying. A scoop is worth a fortune at minute zero and basically nothing by lunchtime. Every editor in America knew that. What Levin understood is that you could run arbitrage on it. Arbitrage is buying something where it's cheap and selling it where it's expensive, pocketing the gap, except TMZ's gap wasn't measured in miles. It was measured in minutes. Buy information while it's still private, when only a valet or a court clerk knows it. Sell it as page views and ads in the window before it decays into common knowledge. Which brings us to the machinery, and to a claim TMZ made for years that it does not pay for stories. Start with the intake, over 100 tips a day. Here's one night's actual haul from a leaked internal tip log in September 2015. Info on George Clooney's wedding. A video of a pro athlete getting attacked by a goat. Pictures of Meek Mill in jail. And a tip that a major pop star wears a fake butt in her music videos. Plus a lead on the guy who supposedly makes them, which is quite a portfolio. Somebody has to price all of it before breakfast. Then there's the outflow. A former TMZ cameraman's expense reports from 2010 surfaced, and the line items tell you everything. $40 or $50 to the counter girl at a Beverly Hills salon for information on Goldie Hawn, to a valet for Pete Sampras, to a shopkeeper for Dwight Howard, to a waiter for Hayden Christensen. Lunch money paid daily at street corners all over the 30-mile zone. And that was just the bottom tier. TMZ'd paid a mole inside a limousine company for client lists, planned routes, and license plate numbers. One photographer's email listed his airport sources for the day: Harold at Delta, Leon at Baggage Service, Fred at Hudson News, Lyle at Fruit and Nut Stand. $5,000 bought the footage of Solange kicking Jay-Z in an elevator. $15,000 bought the first Ray Rice clip. You already know what the second one cost. Look at what that actually is. A daily payroll of valets, waiters and shopkeepers running on $40 bills, with a news desk bolted on top. And the returns were absurd. The site was profitable after its first year. By 2008, revenues hit $25.4 million from a company that started with a dozen people and a $5,000 domain. The reasons it kept compounding centered on first mover advantage. Whoever gets there first becomes the bookmark, and people don't reset their bookmarks. So close the loop from the top of this video. When TMZ spends 6 figures on an elevator video, you're not buying the video. You're buying the minutes before everyone else has it. And TMZ built the only machine that could sell those minutes to 8 million people before they expired. So what is this thing actually? Levin insists it's journalism. When his team broke the Jackson death, he told ABC News his staff used old-fashioned techniques. They are the same skills you would use to cover President Obama. And the process partly backs him up. His newsroom kept calling sources for a full hour after they were already certain, double and triple sourcing before anyone touched the publish button. But the strangest testimony comes from inside the machine. Gillian Sheldon, who worked there, said, "I can't tell you how many times we got calls from Britney Spears or her people who called to say she's going to get a tan." Celebrities tipping TMZ about themselves. In 2007, TMZ's first cameraman filmed Paris Hilton outside a movie theatre. She looked genuinely surprised to see him. The tip had come from her own publicist. Levin says TMZ isn't beholden to publicists. Meanwhile, the publicists are dialing the tip line because being ambushed is worth more than being ignored. That's the supply side, and it looks almost victimless. Now the ledger nobody printed. February 2012, the Beverly Hilton. Whitney Houston is found dead in a bathtub upstairs. That same day, a TMZ source rents a room in the hotel, hands cash to hotel employees, by his own account, a whole pocket full of hundreds, and photographs the bathtub her body was found in. That photo exists because the window was still open and somebody priced it. And Deputy Me, remember him? Within 72 hours of the arrest, Internal Affairs pulled him into an investigation and interrogated him for 5 hours. 6 weeks after the arrest, deputies showed up at his house with a search warrant. They took his computer. They pulled his phone records, his own department, raiding one of its own, to find out how the truth got loose. Then came the decade, involuntarily transferred, fired in 2012 over an unrelated allegation, reinstated when the Civil Service Commission found no basis for the firing, then investigated twice more. He sued and the department settled the matter. So notice the asymmetry. The market paid the salon counter girl $50 and she walked away clean. It paid Deputy Me with 10 years of his career. The tip network's prices only look cheap if you don't count what the sources pay. Then January 26th, 2020, a helicopter carrying 9 people goes down in fog outside Los Angeles. Kobe Bryant is on board. So is Gianna, his 13-year-old daughter. TMZ publishes Bryant's death first, again. Around the same time, a family assistant knocks on Vanessa Bryant's door and says there's been an accident, 5 survivors, and she doesn't know if Kobe and Gianna are among them. A wife and mother hearing maybe at the same moment, millions of strangers are reading confirmed. The LA County Sheriff publicly slammed TMZ for publishing before law enforcement could reach the family. TMZ had priced that window down to the minute. What that knock cost, nobody ever wrote down. And if you think publishing first was the whole business, The Vault says otherwise. The Vault, TMZ's internal stash of stories it has verified, sourced, paid for, and deliberately chosen not to run. Even the lowest staffers had heard whispers of it. The clearest case is Justin Bieber. There's a video of him as a teenager, already one of the biggest pop stars on earth, changing the words of his own hit to include a racial slur and singing about joining the Ku Klux Klan. TMZ had the tape and did not publish it. When it went public, TMZ addressed the situation with a statement, mercy, right? A former employee told Gawker, a media gossip site that spent years reporting on how outlets like TMZ actually operate, something different. The tape was essentially ransom, held while Bieber and his team fed TMZ cooperation and scoops. He'd appeared on TMZ's own show, already a global star with no earthly reason to be there. But the hold didn't end on TMZ's terms. A hold like that only works while you own the only copy, and TMZ didn't. A second copy sat on a hard drive belonging to a guy who'd worked on Bieber's videos, and once he sold it to The Sun, a British tabloid, TMZ's asset lost its leverage. So TMZ published its own copy the same day, statement attached. The most valuable information TMZ ever owned was the information you never saw, right up until somebody else owned it too. So, back to that $50 million question. Negotiations valuing TMZ had reportedly been substantially higher. It sold for less than half of those earlier estimates. One source called it a fire sale, selling under duress for whatever the one buyer in the room will pay. Why? Levin's contract was expiring, and he told Warner Media executives he was unlikely to stick around if the company stayed under their umbrella. The moment Levin said he'd walk, more than half the valuation evaporated. TMZ was never a platform. It was one man's phone, and you can't sell a phone that won't ring for you. Fox, where Levin already had relationships, emerged as the only plausible buyer, and Fox got the man along with the machine. Levin signed a multi-year deal and stayed, which tells you exactly what $50 million actually bought. So why does this matter? Because information decays. The money lives in the window between happened and known. And there are exactly 3 ways to monetize that window. Sell it, the Jackson headline at 5:20 p.m. Trade it, the publicist calling in a tan. Or hold it, the vault, where a tape earns more unpublished, month after month, than publishing it ever could. TMZ ran all 3 at industrial scale. 100+ tips a day works out to 1 every 14 minutes across a standard workday, each one priced against the clock, and the numbers stay strange right to the end. The whole company sold for roughly the cost of a single mid-range Hollywood movie, which means 1 tip for 1 elevator video consumed 0.2% of the entire sale price. That's how expensive minutes are, and how cheap a company becomes once the man who makes the window threatens to walk. The same race now runs on earnings numbers, election calls, and casualty reports. Anywhere being first pays. So the next time news breaks on your phone before any official confirms it, ask 1 question. Who got paid for those minutes? And who's standing behind a door about to find out last?